Mykola, a pacifist living a simple and secluded life as a schoolteacher in rural Ukraine. He is deeply committed to living in harmony with nature and shuns violence, living with his pregnant wife in an eco-settlement. We see his wife Nastya drawing and wood carving. Mykola is a teacher of mathematics at a local school. He rides his bicycle to work. During his break, he catches a few minutes of television. On the news, he hears about protesters being killed in Ukraine's capital and the looming threat of a Russian invasion. At the same time, Nastya is busy carving a wooden angel. During one of Mykola's lessons, he notices some students bullying a classmate. He steps in and asks them to stop, but Ivan, one of the boys, shoots a wet piece of paper at him. Instead of losing his temper, Mykola turns the incident into a lesson on calculating speed. Despite his calm approach, Ivan continues to misbehave. As the students leave the room, Ivan walks up to Mykola and tells him he doesn't belong there. A journalist came to interview Mykola and Nastya about their way of living. Noticing an ancient symbol on the ground, she inquired about its meaning. Nastya shared a story about a raven from an old legend, a bird that took pity on humans and brought them food and water, losing its feathers in the process. When the reporter asked Nastya if she had any fears about giving birth in such an isolated place, Nastya calmly said she wasn't afraid. That night, Mykola and Nastya shared a joyful moment, laughing as they bathed together and later sat by the fire. Mykola sang softly to her, and they found comfort in each other's company. One morning on his way to school, Mykola noticed some soldiers standing by the roadside, but he didn't think much of it. Upon reaching the school, he was stunned to find it completely deserted. A quick glance at the television revealed that Russia had invaded Ukraine. Mykola's heart sank as he recalled the soldiers he'd seen earlier. Fearing for his wife, he rushed home, only to arrive too late. The soldiers were already there, beating Nastya. When Mykola tried to protect her, they captured him as well. After determining that neither were spies, the soldiers set the house on fire and began to leave. In a moment of defiance, Nastya hurled a stone at them, but the soldiers responded without hesitation, shooting her before finally departing. Heartbroken, Mykola held his wife's lifeless body, watching helplessly as their home burned to the ground. Hours later, 2 members of the Ukrainian militia found Mykola. After verifying his identity and confirming he was just a civilian, they helped him bury Nastya. Before leaving with them to their base, Mykola grabs the wooden angel carving. At the base, the higher-ranking officers were uneasy about Mykola's sudden arrival, suspecting he might be a spy. The leader even suggested kicking him out. In the midst of their discussion, Mykola approached a gun, which immediately raised alarm. However, Mykola quickly diffused the situation by stating his desire to join the fight and help drive the Russians out of Ukraine. After that, he was sent to an intense training program where he had to push his body to its limits and learn to handle firearms, something far outside his usual peaceful nature. He especially struggled with assembling and disassembling weapons, which made him the target of ridicule from his superiors. Their mockery only grew when he chose Raven as his codename, a nod to the legend Nastya had shared. Mykola refuses to let their taunts break him. He pushes himself even harder, staying up late to perfect his weapon skills and keeping the wooden angel close as a constant reminder of his goal, avenging his wife. One day, the trainees are informed that the army is short on snipers and seeking volunteers. Most show little interest, but Mykola steps forward without hesitation, only to be ridiculed again. Determined to prove his worth, he accepts a challenge. He blindfolds himself and expertly disassembles and reassembles an AK-47 in under 20 seconds, finally earning the respect of his peers. During a lesson, as the commander talks about combat tactics, Mykola asks specific questions about snipers, eager to deepen his knowledge. Later, when they are handed out weapons, Mykola receives a firearm unsuited for sniper work. When he points this out, he's met with hostility. Despite his efforts to reason with them, nothing changes. On the field, some soldiers begin teasing him about his weapon. Rather than get upset, Mykola joins in on the banter, turning their mockery into shared laughter. The soldiers continued their sniper training, leading up to a sniper test. But Mykola failed. Frustrated, he explained to the commander that his weapon was nearly impossible to shoot accurately with. The The commander, however, dismissed his concerns, saying it had been done before. Refusing to accept defeat, Mykola devised a plan to demonstrate his abilities. The final sniper test was set for nightfall, where the trainees had to fire as soon as the flare, shot by the instructor, provided enough light on their targets. Unlike the others, Mykola waited. He used the brief moment of light to measure the distance, and after the flare faded, he fired in total darkness. His bullet struck the center of the target, a shot none of the others had managed. Because of this, he earned an additional 3 points. This achievement secured Mykola the top score, allowing him to graduate at the top of his class and earn a spot in a first unit. Later that evening, he celebrated by playing his guitar and singing for the other soldiers. For his first mission, Mykola and his fellow snipers were tasked with reclaiming a key checkpoint from Russian forces. The colonel briefed them on the details of the mission. The team infiltrated the area undetected, and each sniper was assigned a target. As they prepared to take their shots, they had to pause when a civilian car approached the checkpoint. The Russian soldiers forced the couple out of the vehicle and demanded their passports, refusing to return them even when the pair tried to leave. Tensions escalated as the man protested, and the Russian soldiers reacted violently. Recognizing the danger, Mykola's team swiftly took action, eliminating the Russian soldiers with precise shots. One soldier attempted to take the woman hostage, but they neutralized him before any harm was done. As they lay on the ground, the colonel congratulated Mykola on his successful first mission. After the mission concludes, the team raises the Ukrainian flag to mark their reclaiming of the checkpoint. Upon returning to base, Mykola learns that his fellow recruits have already left for another mission, giving him a brief moment of quiet. He takes this time to visit the school where he once worked, feeling a wave of sadness as he wanders through the dusty, empty classrooms. The following day, when the other team returns, Mykola receives the devastating news that one of his close friends was killed by an enemy sniper. This deepens his resolve for revenge. For their next mission, Mykola's team sets a trap by hiding explosives in trees, camouflaged by leaves, and then they lie low in the grass, awaiting the enemy's arrival. When the Russian soldiers finally enter the forest as expected, Mykola is stunned to see a familiar face among them, his former student, Ivan, now fighting for the Russian side. He hesitates, struggling to process the betrayal, but snaps back to the present when the captain orders him to detonate the explosives. Mykola obeys, wiping out the entire group of soldiers, including Ivan. Afterward, the captain praises Mykola's work, but asks about Ivan. Mykola quietly admits that Ivan was once his student. The captain responds bluntly, he made his choice. During a break, Mykola and the captain share stories of home. The captain shows Mykola a picture of his family and confesses that he's told his daughters he's simply away on a business trip, not wanting them to know the true dangers of his job. Mykola, in turn, shows him the wooden angel, explaining it represents his own family. A few days later, the Ukrainian forces successfully secure the trenches near the border, and Mykola's sniper team takes up their positions, preparing for an impending Russian attack. As Mykola readies himself, he suddenly spots a familiar face among the enemy soldiers, the man responsible for his wife's death. His thirst for vengeance consumes him, and he repeatedly asks the captain for permission to fire, but the captain denies him each time, insisting the enemy isn't in the proper range yet. Unable to wait any longer, Mykola takes the shot on his own. Though he hits the target, his action reveals their position to a hidden enemy sniper. The sniper retaliates, fatally wounding the captain. As chaos erupts, the Russians unleash a barrage of bullets and explosives. Mykola, risking his life, drags the captain's body through the field, narrowly avoiding death with every step. When he finally reaches the base, grief-stricken and exhausted, his superior promises an investigation to find the sniper who killed the captain. Once they do, Mykola will be called to exact his revenge. Meanwhile, Mykola began taking on missions solo, His sniper abilities remained sharp, allowing him to take down numerous Russian soldiers. However, without anyone to rein him in, he began taking increasingly dangerous risks. This recklessness led to him being shot in the arm during one mission. Wounded, Mykola retreated to a secret hideout to recover. During his downtime, he watched the news, staying updated on the political developments in the ongoing negotiations with Russia. While he was trying to rest, his break was abruptly cut short by an urgent call. The army had finally tracked down the sniper responsible for the captain's death, and Mykola was summoned back to base. Without hesitation, he gathered his weapons, dressed, and returned to prepare for the mission. Before they set off, the soldiers were briefed with all the intelligence they had collected. The enemy sniper, named Sari, had a deadly reputation. His bullets had a wide range, and he had already killed 5 Ukrainian snipers and 3 machine gunners. Sari wasn't just a skilled killer. He filmed each of his kills, uploading the videos to demoralize the Ukrainian forces. The video of the captain's death was among them, adding to the weight of the mission. However, these casualties had helped them narrow down Sari's position. The challenge was complicated by the location. Sari was hiding in a chemical plant, and the area contained a chlorine storage facility. This ruled out any option to lay mines. Instead, the team devised a plan. The other snipers would take out the enemy soldiers surrounding the plant, clearing a path for Mykola to slip inside and confront Sari one-on-one. As the mission begins, the Ukrainian snipers take up their positions, silently awaiting the signal as Mykola crawls through the field toward the building. The first enemy he encounters is a familiar face, one of the men who had attacked his home. Recognizing Mykola, the soldier sneers, saying he should have finished him off back then. With a swift, precise shot, Mykola ends the man's life, feeling a grim sense of satisfaction. He then signals his team, and all the Ukrainian snipers fire simultaneously, swiftly eliminating the Russian soldiers without raising any alarms. Now, only 2 Russian snipers remain, one of them being Sari. They remain oblivious to the attack until they notice the silence on their communications. Realizing something is wrong, they leave their positions to investigate, only to discover the bodies of their fallen comrades. Taking advantage of the confusion, Mykola slips further into the building undetected. Meanwhile, Sari, sensing the danger, calls for reinforcements and sends the other sniper to keep watch. Returning to his spot, Sari is startled to find a small wooden angel left behind, a chilling reminder of Mykola's past. In that moment, Mykola emerges from the shadows and attacks, overpowering Sari and killing him with a knife. At the same time, the remaining Russian sniper meets his end as he steps into the path of a grenade Mykola had carefully planted. As the backup Sari had called for arrives, Mykola seizes the opportunity. Using Sari's radio, he delivers a chilling message to the incoming Russian soldiers, warning them that they will pay for what they've done. Moments later, as the Russian truck parks, the Ukrainian snipers unleash a barrage of fire, swiftly neutralizing all the new arrivals. After everything that has transpired, Mykola decides it's time to take a brief respite and returns home to visit his wife Nastya's grave. He walks around their old house, memories flooding back, before heading to the cemetery. There, he notices the cross on her grave has fallen over. Gently, he fixes it, then sits beside the grave, overwhelmed with grief. Tears streaming down his face, he pulls out the wooden angel, holding it close as he bids a quiet farewell to his wife, though he puts the carving back inside his pocket. Not long after, Mykola embarks on yet another solo mission, with the shot of his sniper marking the beginning of another battle. The movie comes to a close,